Hey everybody, Jed Johnson here. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe. I've been getting a lot of repeat questions lately on some things, both at the website and here at the YouTube channel, and they have to do with movements of the forearms and different terminology that I'm using. And this stuff can be a little bit confusing, so I just want to straighten everything out for everybody. So there's lots of movement patterns that are defined for the wrist and for the forearm. So I just want to lay those out right now. This will be kind of just a quick reference video for you. So really basic stuff, flexion and extension. So you've done wrist curls and things like that. When you bend your wrist into like the gooseneck position, this is called flexion. And generally flexion is a decrease in angle of it at a joint. So we're decreasing the angle here. Extension is just the opposite. So wrist extension looks like this. We're increasing the angle at the joint. So wrist flexion, like a gooseneck. Wrist extension, like you're pushing someone on the football field. The next thing is we have deviation. So there's two deviations. There's radial deviation, and this is called radial deviation because this bone in the forearm is called the radius. So when you move your hand or move your thumb towards the radius, that's called radial deviation. You're moving towards the radius. The other bone in the forearm is the ulna. So when you move your hand towards the ulna, that's called ulnar deviation. So you have radial deviation, and then the opposite would be ulnar deviation. Just like that. Radial, ulnar. Just like you're waving. Okay? Next, another common one is rotation. Okay? So when you rotate your forearm, there's two terms for that. Okay? So there's supination, which is where you open your hand up and your palm faces the sky. Pronation is where you close your forearm and your palm faces the ground. Okay? This is also called external rotation because you're moving your hand towards the outside part of your body. So supination and external rotation of the forearm are the same. Pronation and internal rotation of the forearm are the same. Now, how do you remember this? When I was in college, I actually heard something pretty cool, easy to remember. Think of pouring soup into a bowl. So when you pour, you pronate, and when you soup, when you catch the soup, you're supinated. Okay, so if you're holding a bowl here, you pour it out into the bowl, that's your soup, supinated, pronation. Real easy for me to remember, hopefully it helps you out too. The only other one that really you need to know is circumduction. And that's just a combination of all these things. You actually end up using all those movement patterns. And circumduction is when you turn your wrist, when you pivot your wrist at that joint. Okay? So holding a baseball bat would be circumduction. Tennis racket, different things like that, where you've got to move your wrist around in that swiveling type of movement. That's circumduction, and you're utilizing degrees of pronation and supination. You're using different degrees of flexion and extension and deviation. So it's a combination of all those movement patterns. That's why it's so important to train all those movement patterns, and don't just go to the gym and hit only wrist curls. You're not going to strengthen your wrist as much as you need to. Alright, I hope that has been helpful. Covered a lot of information in just a few minutes. But if there's any other questions, please feel free to leave a comment here, and I'm always glad to answer your questions. Make sure to subscribe as always, and take care. All the best in your training. See ya.